Hello again, and it's time for another project. Today we're going to route out this little Elmo character from the Sesame Street TV show. Now the idea is to route out all the background. We'll lower it by 3mm, just so he's obviously raised up by 3mm. Then remove this little section inside the mouth, and or depending how we feel, we might just lower the whole thing down by a couple of millimeters, just so his nose stands up, and then slightly less on the eyes. You'll see as we go along. Now for this one, I literally just googled the image, put on a bit of tracing paper on top of the laptop or tablet, and literally just draw around it. As simple as that. Ideal if you haven't got a printer or you don't want to waste your inks and stuff on something quite simple like this. So we've got our template on tracing paper. I literally just stick it down there, and then I use carbon paper, and we'll just pop that underneath and draw around it with a pen. I like to use a pen because it stands out, because I've already drawn around it once with a pencil. That way, once we've drawn around it, we've got our template nicely there. That's all we need to make a nice little fun project. Now you can see from that, I've literally drawn a frame around there just for now, because as we start removing this, I just want to leave that little framework on. If it's not working out, we can literally just route off straight across, should I say, and just do away with that framework altogether. Now originally I was going to cut around this with a scroll saw, but these bits are quite small. We're going outside, I just don't know how they're going to weather. So to play safe, we're going to leave it on this nice little backer. So we've got our template ready to do. The bits I'm going to use today, I like to use these CNC bits. They do come in different degrees. This one's a 15, I believe. And the idea of that, we're going to pop it into this adapter reducer collet. That's a 6.35mm. Your little pieces, your CNC bits, they're 3.175mm. They will fit a Dremel, no problem, if you've got the router attachment for the Dremel. But as I'm using a 1/4" router, we simply just pop that in there, pop that into our full-size router, and we'll use that to do what we need to do. And we will use this CNC bit to go around all the lines first, just to separate those pieces of wood as we go along. And then we'll put on another bit, which I'm going to show you now, to actually clear out all the background first, and then we'll go back to doing the mouth and the nose and see. Here's a couple of packets of your CNC bits. See, they come in 30s, 20s, 10s and 15s. I believe there's a 60 out there somewhere as well. After remove the backer, we'll start over with these end milling bits. I use it on most of my projects. They have the same size shaft, a 3.175, remember, and they will fit your reducer collet if you turn it around the right way. Just push it up to that little barrier. You can also purchase these without that plastic barrier on. They're exactly the same, just some companies prefer to put that on. Pop that in, pop that into your router, the same depth, and then we'll just remove all this backer. If we do find it's a little bit too slow, we can pop on one of these straight flush bits. They've got a 1/4" shaft, so you don't need the adapter on those ones, and we'll pop that straight in, and that will remove it a lot quicker. They do come in bigger sizes, but we don't want anything too chunky, because obviously we're not going to fit all the way around. Once that's all done, we'll tidy up with a Dremel, give it a nice cleaning down, and then we'll go on to the painting side of things. Okay, let's pop our 15-degree CNC bit into our adapter collet. We'll pop that into the router, set it to 3mm. I use a piece of wood now, just find it there, and I've got my 3mm depth there. You can purchase proper depth gauges, and you can do 4 or 5 different depths, should I say. I know it on 3mm, and that literally is the same thickness as one of the Dremel pieces. So you could say 3.175. I'm going to call it 3mm. Okay, pop this in the router, set it to 3mm, and we'll start doing all our lines. Right, so we've gone all the way around Elmo himself. No problem with that one. So we've gone all the way around, as you can see. We still have his mouth to take out. I want to literally do it at the same depth, which is 3mm, remember? So it might look a bit deep in his mouth, but I think I'm going to skim over the whole body by 1mm, just so the nose and the two eyes just stand up. So we'll take 1mm off that, so it'll only be about 2mm deep on the mouth. In my mind it works. It may be easier just to do it than it is to explain. And also notice I've done one cut here on the frame. I just literally just did that freehand. If you're not too sure about straight lines with a router, you could get yourself a piece of wood of the same thickness, put that alongside like so, and that will just give a better surface for your router to run on. And if you want a nice straight line, mine actually comes with a micro adjuster. It's just a device that fits underneath, and you can set it to do straight lines. But if you haven't got one of those with your router, and they're not made for everyone, you can just find yourself a piece of straight wood like that. Put that on there, or if that's wide enough, we might just get away with feeding it on there. And you set your router bit to where you want to start here, let's say. Just so if you just see that, put that piece of wood there, put a nice clamp on there. You'll have to work off the end of the table or put a piece underneath. So clamp that there, bring this down to this hole here, just about see it. Move your wood over and clamp that one. That way you know you've got a perfect straight line. And when you put your router bit into there, you can literally just follow that piece of wood like so, the full length of your piece. And hopefully you'll get a near enough straight line. I'm just going to do it freehand, not being clever or showing off. I'm just not overly concerned about the line being perfectly straight. It's a personal thing. So we'll do the mouth, and we'll do these 3 remaining sides of the frame, and then we'll get onto the end milling bit and start clearing out this background. Right, so we've gone all the way around Elmo. We've done all his outer edges. Remember, we've gone inside the mouth and we've done the full frame all the way around. And that's near enough what I want. These little projects just go on the side of my shed, so we don't have to go too fantastic. And it's just fun little projects to me. So what we're going to do next is literally pop on one of our end milling bits. They're quite small, these. They do clear out really nice, and they're ideal if you've got delicate areas that you need to get to, let's say in between his legs and stuff like that. Obviously it's going to take a while to do all this here, but we'll see how quickly it's coming out. Just cheap fencing wood. It does come up really nice if you just give it a little sanding down first with a belt sander. So we'll start off with the end milling bits, just to get us around there and just get rid of these areas. And if it's a little bit slow, we'll pop on one of these straight flush bits. Now these come in different sizes, you can see from that. They have a 1/4 inch shaft on them. That's far too big, and they're quite aggressive. We would go into that, we were breaking off these little spiky sections of his fur. They would break off too much. That's quite savage, is that? So you definitely don't want to use something like that. You might get away with a smaller 2-1. So to play safe, I'm going to stick with a little single one, should we need it. We'll pop that one. We might find, as we're going around with the end milling bit, that it's just coming out easy peasy, and we don't need any of them bits at all. Just trying to show you different bits. And it's a personal thing again. You find what works best for you. So we remove the CNC bit. We just literally slot that one in there. We'll set it to a depth. We can use our little gauge again, the piece of wood, which has disappeared at this moment in time. Or I always remove a section so we can just pop it in there to that depth there. We know we've got the same again. So we're going to remove all this backer now. Let's do that next. Right, you can see from that, that's coming off no problem with the little end milling bits. It's just a little bit too slow maybe. I think personally I'm ready for some new bits. I'm still using my original ones from way back. I think they're just starting to wear a little bit now, so that's definitely on my next shopping list. So just because I did mention them, we're going to pop on one of these straight flush bits now, just a small one. Like I said previously, they're just too aggressive. If you catch the corner of that toe, you'll just rip it off completely. We might get away with that double one there, but to play safe, I'm just going to use the single bladed straight flush bit, basically just to show you how quicker it will remove the backer on this little project. We'll pop that on now and then clear the rest of this. Right, you can see from that we've done all that backer. That's all nicely removed. It's still a bit rough and ready at this moment in time, with a nice bit of sanding down, and when you use the Dremel with a couple of engraving bits on just to get in here and give it a nice tidy up. Before that, I just want to see if we can higher this nose slightly. Remember, we've only got 3mm to play with, so I'm going to go down maybe 1mm, just pure guesswork. If you just set the CNC bit back into the router, and just enough to skim over that one, and I'm going to go around the eyes, around the nose, just to lower, and then I'm going to skim over the whole body completely. So it's a lot of work involved just for the little effect of having that nose slightly raised. You could put the CNC bit on and actually just go around that as a circle, and same around the eyes. But I'm just going to skim over all the full body just to see if we can raise that eye and the nose just slightly. It'll be subtle, but it'll be enough to know that I've given it a go. Okay, we'll do that next. Right, you can see from that I've gone around the nose with a CNC bit, just enough to say that it's now raised up, as you can see, and around the eyes. Unfortunately, to get that effect, I've had to skim over the body completely, so we lowered that down the same depth of what we did the nose with. Now, unfortunately, the body's not standing out so good from the background. Now, to rectify that, you could actually just route out the background lower still. We've got plenty of thickness on this wood to do that, but I'm not overly concerned at that. By the time we've gone round and tidied it all up and sanded it down, and plus once the paint's on, I think we'll stand out just enough for what we need. Plus, because we have lowered it down, the actual frame's slightly higher now by the same depth of what the nose is around there. So we'll persevere with this one. I did prefer it myself when it was all raised up more, but we'll salvage something for it. There's no big loss. Now, to tidy up with, literally a flexi cable on the end of a Dremel, nice cheap eBay special, and to tidy up and general clean it up with, I like to use these engraving bits Same again, just eBay specials. Just put in Dremel engraving bits and you'll get a packet of 30 plus of these fairly cheap. I like to have one that's got a nice flat bottom on it, something like this one here. And we'll pop that in the flexi cable, and that's just ideal for going in here and giving it a nice tidy up. Get round here, put a little bit of shape to it, there won't be a lot, just to say we've had a play with it. And then a nice bit of sandpaper, give it a good clean up, and then we're looking to putting a slot in the back. Okay, let's tidy up first. Right, that's enough sanding down for me. We've got what we're looking for basically. I still think that backer should have been a little bit lower. However, I've got quite a small base on my router, so I would struggle to go over that again. You can literally just see there, I've got that there and that there. Now you can purchase or make your own separate bases that come out here somewhere, and that would be enough to go astride that. So as I was doing that, because we've lowered this centerpiece down, it's just not level. And as you come around here, you can see from there, it just drops down off his nose, and it's going to be up and down hills. So bigger base, we could have skimmed over that backer all again, just to lower it down. But it is what it is. I think once the paint's gone on and stuff like that, the gloss finish, the spray, it'll stand out a lot better. And we've definitely got his little nose and eyes sticking up. Okay, just before we get to the painting side of things, we're going to put a little slit in the back. I like to use a T-slot bit. This is a 5/16. You might just be able to see it there. Just about 5/16. It's the smallest one I could find. There's a 1/4 inch shaft on, so we just pop that in the router, and basically we're going to route out a slit. I like to have a bit of scrap wood. You've all seen this piece before. And we'll set it to that depth, which I know because it's the same piece of wood. And I know when I do the T-slot bit in there, slide it across, route it out, it's not going to come out the other side. And then when we get our screws to fit, I'll just find one quickly, like so. You simply just pop that into the wall. The further that screw goes into the wall, the tighter it will be to fit on. And you can really push that on there, and that will hold that project in place, no problem whatsoever. Okay, I'll quickly route this out for you, just to show you, and then we'll get onto the painting side of things. Right, painting time. We've done our little slit in the back. That's enough to hold that in place, no problem. So for painting, just cheap acrylic paints. I've hopefully got the colours that we require for little Elmo himself. And then we'll see how it's going on as regards to either staining the frame. We might just literally just put a bit of brown acrylic paint on this one, just water it down, just so it makes the frame stand out a little bit more. In regards to the background, I like to use linseed oil on all my little projects. Over on this one, just so the orange stands out nicely, we might just put a bit of yellow on the back there. Just water it down to make a bit of a stain out of it. Okay, I'll go indoors now and we'll paint this, and then we'll come back once we've sprayed on a bit of yacht varnish or crystal clear spray, just to give it a nice shine. And then we'll be heading towards the finishing. Right, that's it. This little project is finished. I ended up putting a bit of boiled linseed oil on the frame itself, just to darken it down. You can see from there the side bits, that's just gone nice and darker, and all the side walls as well. And then we sprayed 4 to 5 coats of yacht varnish I'm using at the moment. Now they won't be the best finishes for outdoors, but for indoor pieces it'll actually be fantastic. Outdoor pieces you may want to invest in something a little bit better, but I'm quite happy with these for the side of my shed. You can see from that he's got a lovely shine on him. Remember, we raised the nose slightly and the eyes, and we routed out the mouth, so we've got our effect as it is. Personally, I still think it could have been a bit deeper at the back, but we've got what we've got now. And then we use acrylic paint just to paint him. You're not getting the full colour here, it looks quite orange, but I can assure you it is the correct colours. And on the backer we use yellow paint, but we watered it down plenty, so that just allows you to see the grains coming through. So I always like to have plenty of water on the acrylics to make more of a stain than an actual paint. And that's him done. You'll see better on the colours when we put him outside on the shed with the rest of them. So there he is, 10 inches by 6 inches across. Remember, we use CNC bits to go around the lines, and then we use end milling bits, and then we also use some straight flush bits just to show the difference. Even though the effect is exactly the same, it's obviously just a little bit quicker with the straight flush bits. And that's it, this little project is finished. Thank you very much for watching.